Well, as you know, Trinidad and Tobago is grappling with what economists call a severe foreign exchange challenge, with potential impacts for businesses nationwide. The country, which heavily relies on imports for trade with international partners, is now feeling the pressure as this Forex situation takes hold. This developing situation has been years in the making. As it persists, everyone is seeking solutions to mitigate the impact on the economy and local enterprises. To help us understand the seriousness of the foreign exchange crunch is Economist and Principal Consultant at VSL Consultants Ltd, Gregory McGuire. He's joining us via Zoom this evening. So, Mr. McGuire, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Sigourney. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago.
All right,
Very pleased to be here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. And you know, Mr. McGuire, we want to get down into the meat of it. We know that our country has an economic history of grappling with the Forex challenge. How is this time around different from what we've been hearing of before?
Well, let me say this is much milder than what we've experienced before. I typically use as my barometer what we call in months of import cover. That is the number of months that we have for which we have foreign exchange to meet our foreign obligations. And I can tell you from the 1986 straight on to 1993, we had under 3 months cover. And some years in that time, there was 0 months cover. And the foreign exchange balance was negative. So what we're dealing with now, however, is a situation in which there are still about 6 months, 6 to 8 months import cover. It's been going down, but there's still 6 months of import cover, which is good in comparison with other periods of depression. That is not to say that we don't have a problem. We do have a problem because we are spending far more foreign exchange than we are earning, and therefore the reserves are declining and declining rapidly.
Well, Mr. McGuire, you know, so many of us are saying that because history is teaching us that we should not just be reliant solely on the energy sector for Forex, but we've also been hearing people within our country talking about it being a structural problem that can be fixed, and there are many solutions. What exactly is your solution to this matter?
Well, I think that there are a lot of short-term things that you could do. I mean, you hear people talking about the new allocation system. Popular solution is a floating of the dollar within a managed range. These are all short-term solutions, and they may help the problem temporarily. But the key thing we need to do is to boost our earnings of foreign exchange and suppress and save foreign exchange or save the spend. So to save the spend, we've got to begin to produce and eat and consume more of the goods that we produce locally. And to earn foreign exchange, we got to go into those areas that are export-oriented and which can earn a lot of foreign exchange. And for me, the 2 main ones I point to is tourism and agriculture. And included in that, cultural industries and cultural goods. I think those are where our niches are. Unfortunately, we've been paying a lot of lip service to those things over the last decades because, of course, the energy sector will always pull us out.
Well, I see you're mentioning, you know, those residents who are paid directly with the US dollar or paid within the Forex, that foreign exchange market there, the hoteliers, the tour operators in particular, agriculture, even those who have manufactured goods, that's who you're speaking about. But in terms of the regular person, we have people who foreign exchange also impacts not just the businessman, but people who are trying to pay for their children with school fees at this time. So how then what is the situation happening with them? Because we've been hearing that so many people are hoarding, in particular, the US dollar. What then happens?
Well, again, that can't be solved at an individual level. It has to be solved at the macro level. It is the macro policies that will cause us to earn foreign exchange. Individuals don't have the capacity to earn foreign exchange, so they have to join the line, so to speak. It is only when the country as a whole is earning more foreign exchange that becomes more freely available, as it was in the teens from 2010 thereabout straight on to about 2014, 2015, when commodity prices were extremely high and production was high. There was a lot of foreign exchange flowing in the country, and therefore it was more easily available. As things become tighter, we will get back to that situation where the availability of foreign exchange is going to become tighter, and those who earn it or those who purchase it are going to hold it. It's normal. It is normal practice in any country, in any way. It's a rational thing to do.
Of Mr. McGuire, how then does foreign exchange, so many people in Trinidad and Tobago are saying, what is the situation with foreign exchange in other Caribbean countries? Are they having the same problems that we are having with this challenge, which, as you have rightfully said at the beginning of this interview, is a mild version of the situation? What's happening in other countries?
Right. So in other countries, of course, and people like to point to Jamaica, and they say that in Jamaica, they don't have a foreign exchange challenge. The Jamaican exchange rate is about 130 to 140 Jamaican dollars to one US. They are on what is called a free float. So they have allowed their currency to float and allow supply and demand to determine what the rate is. So many people in Jamaica cannot get foreign exchange, but those who have the money to buy will buy. And certainly the benefit of certainly having the exchange rate where we are here is that we have the luxury of purchasing every manner of foreign item still. You go to Jamaica and you won't see the shelves of the supermarkets packed with foreign stuff in the way in which the shelves in the supermarket in Trinidad and Tobago are packed with foreign stuff. The other factor, particularly up in the islands, is that when some of these countries don't earn enough the foreign exchange that they need, they get funded through borrowing. So some of the islands in the Eastern Caribbean are some of the most heavily indebted islands in the world because they live off the debt to meet their foreign obligations. So these things are easy to say. But if you actually live in those countries, you will realize that it's much more difficult than we envisage staying here in Trinidad.
So yes, you just spoke to us about the free float, and I've heard other economists talk about reinstating that auction mechanism for US dollar injections that existed prior to the dismantling of it back in 2014. What is your take on having that auction mechanism? And maybe you can explain it for those who are looking on as well.
Well, the auction mechanism is one in which the central bank will periodically, when there's shortage in the market, the central bank will periodically offer foreign currency for sale to the market, and it will offer it on an auction, and people would bid for it. When I say people, largely the banks and the foreign exchange sellers are going to bid for it, and where the price settles or the bid price settles, that then becomes the rate for that period of time. So that way, those who could purchase more will purchase more. The bank can ration how it is distributed, but there are those who believe that is a fair way of allocating the foreign exchange, that when allocate the foreign exchange owned by the bank. Now, will that solve the problem? Well, that just changes the manner of distribution, and some people may be comforted by it. I don't know all will be comforted by it. I think that at the end of the day, if there is not enough to go around, and if we continue to spend the way we're spending on foreign goods and services, then the shortage is going to continue, regardless of what the allocation mechanism is. And that's why some people argue that the way to solve this problem is, in fact, to allow the rate to float, which means that just like in the market, if you go to the market today and there was take the flood in Pinal, the flood in Pinal would have devastated a lot of crops and so on. So expect over the next few weeks that vegetable prices in the market are going to go up. Why? Because there's a shortage of vegetables, and some people will decide whether they're paying for it or they're not paying for it. Now, if we move from that into a situation where there is lots of vegetables in the market, lots of tomatoes in the market, the price will go down. Similarly, the argument is with the exchange rate. The problem with that is that once we start on that float, unless there is a major investment of new export earning industry, we will not be earning more, and therefore the rate is going to continue to slide.
All right, Mr. McGuire, thank you so much for that bit of information. Our last question, because I know we can talk for hours, but we don't have the time at this point to continue talking about the foreign exchange. I do want to ask you, however, if you can, to anyone who is watching who may be thinking about dipping their toes into the market abroad and has to deal with foreign exchange, what is one bit of advice or guidance that you would give to that person this evening who's looking on?
Well, I think that everybody who is into the manufacturing sector, or even people who are into food processing and so on, for your business to survive going forward, you have to make every effort to earn your foreign exchange. So I think that proving up those foreign markets become rather important. Some emphasis has to be placed on that, whether it is that you join the trade missions that go abroad, or you make your own contacts in foreign markets and get foreign buyers. But the entire country, entire manufacturing and service sector now has to be thinking about exports and have to make a conscious effort to go out there to earn foreign exchange. And on the part of the government, if as we have identified, the problem is diversification. The problem is not sufficient earnings, and therefore we got to boost earnings outside of the energy sector, and therefore the government needs to identify which is those sectors that I'm going to place emphasis on and really support in order to get that earnings. Like I said, I don't think we do enough with tourism. I don't think we do enough with agriculture. I think that there are also lots of opportunities across other sectors. Someone pointed me to transportation, for example, and saying, it is a chronic poor public transport system that is causing so many people to import cars. And if you just drive along the highway, you will see, and near the car distributors, you will see thousands of motor cars. And as one person said, all these motor cars represent a foreign exchange leakage. So thousands of them just sitting on the ground there, waiting on a buyer. So all of these areas are areas in which the country needs conscious and deliberate strategy in order to, one, reduce the spend, and two, increase the earnings of foreign exchange.
All right. Reduce spend and increase the earnings of foreign exchange. Those are the words of Economist and Principal Consultant at VSL Consultants Ltd, Gregory McGuire. We want to thank you so much for your time here spending with us at TTT. Thank you so much, Mr. McGuire.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.